French President Emmanuel Macron has announced that people must stay indoors from 2100 hours to 6 o'clock in Paris and 8 other cities to control the rapid spread of coronavirus in the country. Have they closed the bistros yet, or just the bars that don't serve food? What is a curfew going to do to stop spread in schools, offices, public transport? Damn, this shit never gonna end. As someone from Melbourne, Australia, currently in the middle of one of, if not the longest lockdowns in the world that had a curfew. Welcome to the club. Bring out ya dead. Any French citizens here? I'm in Melbourne, Victoria, and we went through a curfew recently. Firstly from 8 p.m. to 5 a.m. and then 9 p.m. to 5 a.m. You'll get through this. Gut laughs in Melbourneian. Serious question, how does a curfew stop the spread? Not trying to start shit, I genuinely don't get it. What about all those homeless people? So let's have everyone out at the same shorter hours so they are crammed in there all together. That should do it. Isn't this just going to cause more congestion as people try to get places during a compressed time frame? Maybe someone who knows more could explain to me. Meanwhile in the UK our politicians don't give a toss about the rules. New Zealand, can we please borrow Jacinda for a few months? We promise to give her back. Excess mortality in France right now is below baseline, https://Euromomo, EU. Did he try putting up a COVID-19 free zone sign? I heard this worked in the US with guns. This will really cut into my septuagenarian parents' orgy and cocaine time. Without clear, discrete metrics for when this curfew would be lifted, or when % positive drop below X, it seems to be an arbitrary curtailing of liberties. LOL. So everyone can still go to work and pay the government's taxes, but anything past that is spreading the virus. Removed. COVID is so contagious it doesn't matter what we do, everyone is going to get it eventually. We should be focusing on protecting those who are most vulnerable while those who are at low risk run the economy and provide support for those who are vulnerable and must shelter in place until we have a vaccine. The way our society is structured, shutting down everything until there is a cure isn't possible, but we can still be smart about it to minimize deaths. So weird, I thought every country but America had a handle on this. At least that's what Reddit and Twitter told me. What governments are doing to society is going to end up causing more death and suffering than the virus. So many people are suffering right now and the economic consequences will be devastating. Can someone explain why shutting things down at night is helpful? Seems like shutting things down when people are home asleep wouldn't be very effective. Why not shut things down during the day? I personally don't pay too much attention to the spread, but would it be safe to say that, because of how long time has passed with all the countermeasures to prevent the spread, some people have become more lax in their approach, and thus spread of the disease is subsequently increased? French writing here to provide some much needed context. First, we've already had a hard lockdown from mid-March to end of May. It made the number of cases and death drop to a very manageable level. Since then, protective measures have been gradually lifted, then since September added back because of rising cases number, but with way more geographical flexibility. I live in Paris where we're going to curfew, but in most places in France people are living their life with very few restrictions, mostly a mask mandate in public indoor places. You have to understand that the situation is both going worse and worse every day in the high-density areas of the country, but at the same time the R0, the number of people that will get infected by a single case on average, is rather close to 1, but not quite, something like 1.05 or 1. Above 1 the number of cases rise exponentially, below 1 it decays exponentially. Compared to the 4 to 5 from March, it means that the restrictive measure actually work, but not quite sufficiently to avoid the rise. The curfew is meant to push that number just below 1, so that we still get a functioning economy and some semblance of social life, while making the cases numbers decrease. Mostly by stopping the stupid parties still happening around the country. Believe me, I like parties and I miss them, but you just don't cram 40 person in a 40 squared meters flat in the middle of a pandemic. Last thing, while the blanket March lockdown was very hard, too restrictive, because we didn't know shit and had no visibility, we since implemented a lot of measurement and thresholds, mostly based on hospital beds fill rate, which is more pragmatic than something based on test results. Government recent handling of the crisis has not been perfect, but mostly reasonable, I'd say. I'm one of the most impacted, young man living in Paris, yet I feel this is exactly what we need to have a chance for a normal Christmas. Does COVID only come out during those times? How long will you people clamor and cheer for the removal of all basic human rights? The data simply does not support the drastically authoritarian measures that have been taken. So now how does America fare compared to Europe? For months I saw tons of criticism of America's treatment, claiming Europe's was better. I'm suspicious that I've seen very little lately. Does that mean America is doing better? Verily verified, the villain is also the victim, a vacuous vain volunteer. These idiots were having raves and throwing huge parties. Big shocker, this is the result. Yes, because the French love to do what their government tells them to. LMAO. Wait, how did Trump cause this in France? Because COVID doesn't spread during certain hours. Ah yes, the virus is on night shift and goes to sleep at 5:59 a.m. and wakes up at 8:59 p.m. French President Emmanuel Macron has announced that people must stay indoors from 2100 hours to 6 o'clock in Paris and 8 other cities to control the rapid spread of coronavirus in the country. I never knew the coronavirus was only active at night/early morning. Wouldn't this make it worse? Since everyone will rush out at the same time in a small window, this means everyone will be more likely to make contact with each other. This entire pandemic I've specifically gone to places that were open oddly late, and had the luxury of seeing only 1 or 2 other people in the grocery store, or in the 7-Eleven. If I had to go out at the times most people go out, I would have had so much more exposure to people in general. Edit. I like how my question is controversial for some reason. I am asking for the reasoning, please do not punish me for it. I'm open to reasons and discussion. I simply meant, if you allow 100 people to go out to get necessities anytime, vs in a small window, you have more people entering buildings at the same time. Imagine if the grocery store was only open for 1 hour per day, there would be a mad rush, and it would spread COVID. My logic was the further you spread people out, the less interaction they have, even just being in the same building. I am not referring to socializing or something irresponsible. But I thought the rest of the world was perfect and defeated COVID and only USA bad. Mais notre liberté. Have the radical French/Aussie conservatives conspired to kidnap and kill their local governors? Make it 23 hours per day with 1 hour of recreational activities and showers twice a week. Basketball would be fine, but please no nets.